TC America, powered by Skip Barber, is back for another go-round here at Road America, with championship battles across 3 classes hanging in the balance. A chaos-infused race 1 yesterday jumbled up the TC and TCA class points battles, while in TCX, championship leader Colin Garrett survived the chaos to extend his points advantage. Today, the battles begin anew here at America's National Park of Speed. Hello and welcome to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. DJ Clark is down pit side for us here this weekend, filling in admirably for Amanda Busick. It's great to have you with us as we get set for another action-packed race for TC America, powered by Skip Barber. Yesterday, Calvin, we saw some chaos. Frankly, we saw some carnage, but intermixed in all of that was some really intense racing across all 3 classes.
There was, and we saw championship leads change. We saw some consolidated, we saw some lost. So as a pivotal point in the season, as we start to focus on the finale at Indy, which is not too far away, 5 rounds to go in this championship now, so every point is really crucial.
3 classes here, TCX, TC, and TCA. The TCX class, these are bespoke race cars, customer race cars built by manufacturers, BMW and Honda in this case, that the teams can take and use as a turnkey racing option. The other 2 classes are more tuner-oriented, and that really goes back to the heart of touring car racing here in this paddock going back decades.
Yeah, so much passion, grassroots for some of these drivers in terms of just being on the grid and competing, and for others, they're using it as a springboard to bigger and better things in their young careers' future. Jeff Ricker bounced back nicely. Started the year with 4 straight victories, missed some rounds due to his competition at the Nürburgring 24 Hours, came back at VIR, had a disappointing weekend. Big hole in the points, but he had a big day yesterday.
He did. He grabbed victory by less than a 1/10 of a second, 91 thousandths to be precise, just barely edging out Christian Pericarpi in a drag race to the checkered flag. And that was huge for him because Pericarpi's mini teammate, Clay Williams, who was the championship leader, had issues yesterday and hemorrhaged a lot of that points lead that he had built.
Yeah, he got a drive-through penalty that really hurt him in the overall running order, lost a ton of points, has really tightened up that driver championship.
So many interesting names and faces within this paddock, and certainly someone who is a star in the automotive realm, now stepping into a race car, Jeremiah Burton. Let's hear more about his story with the Skip Barber Racing School team.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah Burton. I drive the 34 car in the TC class, and I drive with Skip Barber, HPD, and Valvoline. Yeah, so this is my first season racing anything professional in terms of the car world. I started out at COTA this year, missed the first couple rounds, but I work for a company called Donut Media. I make videos over there, and we had this idea of, hey, what does it take to become a professional race car driver? And that kind of spawned me racing at COTA, and then I enjoyed it so much I thought, hey, why don't we finish out the rest of the season and see if I can be a real race car driver for not just one race, but an entire season, and hopefully into the future. So the first thing I learned at COTA is that everyone out there is super talented. They're really fast, and there's so many things that you have to learn. You got to learn about the car and the tires, the track. All this was fairly new to me. I'd never been at COTA. I'd never driven a front-wheel drive car. I'd never driven a car on slicks, so that alone was 3 things that took some time to getting used to. But I think the main thing that I've carried on, at least into VIR and here today at Road America, is that all these guys are really, really good, and that, you know, being a second off the pace per lap over a 40-minute race, you can't even see them. They're not even in your vision. So the competition's really, really tight. These guys are so good. They're such good drivers that I have to be on pace with them. I gotta be able to match them. Otherwise, I'm not in the picture. So just trying to be comfortable with the car, learn the track. I haven't been at this track either. So a lot of things getting thrown my way, but trying to just really take it all in and not crash the car. That's really the goal. That's what the goal has been. Just don't crash the car, finish the race.
Really cool story, Jeremiah Burton. You might know him from his automotive online show Bumper to Bumper, and now he's pursuing the dream that so many have and so few get a chance to actually live out. The Skip Barber Racing School, of course, is the official racing school of SRO America, and it has produced so many champions, but just also your weekend warriors as well. Provides a great foundational building block to jumpstart a racing career?
Well, I think the Skip Barber organization is all about a ladder system through their driving schools. And now with these race teams within SRO, it's really providing the perfect platform for drivers who want to go to the upper echelons of sport, and gives you fierce competition every step of the way. So they're learning a lot.
Jeremiah finished 5th yesterday. That's the second best result for him on the season. Was 4th in the second race at VIR. We'll see what he can do today in what he aptly described as an ultra-competitive TC class. Cars heading out now behind the Toyota GR Supra safety car, and on the pole position, you see it there, the VGRT Honda of Dai Yoshihara. He's been racking up the poles this year, Calvin. Still looking for more consistency, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think just from a driving perspective, but from a car perspective, they got pace in that Honda, but they just don't quite seem to be able to execute like the BMWs. So we'll see what happens today. Colin Garrett, the championship leader, coming off a brilliant victory here yesterday.
He'll start in the second spot. Lucas Catania, certainly in the championship fight. He starts in 3rd. Nick Roberts in 4th here today. Aaron Kaplan, strong yesterday, and Kenny Schmid make up row number 3. Joe Catania, father to Lucas, starts back in the 4th row in the 7th spot next to Clifton Lipple, and Chris DeFreitas at the back of the TCX field for the G3 Racing squad. To the TC field we go, and on pole it is Clay Williams. That's the good news. He needs to bounce back after struggles yesterday. Jeff Rica, yesterday's winner, starts alongside Christian Pericarpi in the second of the minis, starts alongside Celso Neto. Then you find Sally McNulty back in the 3rd row of the TC grid next to Jeremiah Burton. Chris Valdez out back of the TC grid here today. In TCA, Devin Anderson, he's in the championship fight. PJ Gronke, he's a race winner this season. He starts 2nd. Spencer Bucknam will start in the 3rd spot next to Devin Anderson's teammate from Tech Sport, Xiaoyi Che. Back to the penultimate row where you find Will Lambrose and Ruben Iglesias. And then finally to the 13th row where Bruce Marine will start next to Cooper Broll. Great mix of cars as ever, front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive platforms, and a wonderful racetrack for touring car racing. These long straightaways lend themselves to slipstreaming, almost like a NASCAR super speedway with these lower horsepower race cars. And then you get to the corners and they're a big challenge too.
Just try and sort it out when you get there, right? But
exactly.
Yeah, it does provide great racing. Lots of side-by-side action I anticipate here today for Colin Garrett. He's got to think about the big picture of the championship. How racy does he want to get with Yoshihara if that Honda has pace today? Lucas Catania bounced back from an incident earlier this weekend, continually knocking on the door of another win. Broke through at Coda earlier this year. He needs to get back in that win column if he's going to challenge Colin Garrett for the championship, however.
And speaking of Colin, he's not just racing in TC America. He also has a ride in Pirelli GT4 America, and that race is immediately after this one, so he's going to have to hustle. Shares a car for the Rooster Hall team in that championship with Johann Schwartz, and they had a big day yesterday in race 1 there. Garrett, of course, a big day today, or yesterday as well. In TC America, he'd like to make it 2 in a row if he possibly can, but he'll have to fight through Dai Yoshihara, who starts on pole yet again. That is the Honda Civic to the left-hand side of the screen that starts from the pole position. Colin Garrett alongside for Rooster Hall Racing, then a couple of BMWs in the next row, as well as the next row. And you have the next row, too. Lots of BMWs in this TCX field.
Remember yesterday, the Honda struggled off the line, so let's see what happens here today with the BMW to the left side.
Safety car is in. Rover Pole Award winner Dai Yoshihara waiting to enter the VP acceleration zone where he looks for the green flag. When he goes, the field will go with him. He does get a jump, but then Garrett accelerates away. Yoshihara getting swallowed up just like he was on the restarts a day ago. Green flag waves here at Road America, and Garrett secures the lead. Catania up to 2nd. Yoshihara has dropped all the way to 6th.
Just seems like whatever gear they're using for these starts and restarts is just too tall. They just can't get the acceleration.
Here's the start for the TC class. Clay Williams on pole position. He's the championship leader. Jeff Rica, his closest pursuer in points, is alongside. He's going side by side actually with the teammate Christian Pericarpi. Meanwhile, here's the TCA start. PJ Gronke with a great jump from the outside of the front row, and that blue mini looks like he'll lead that field into turn 1.
Yeah, Bucknam had to be pretty patient there. He almost ran over the top of Devin Anderson there on the start in TCA.
Not a good start for Jeff Rica, yesterday's winner in TC. He's dropped a spot spot to Christian Pericarpi, and now he's under attack from Celso Neto, who's been on the podium more often than not this year, still looking through a breakthrough win. At the very front, Colin Garrett continues to show the way as the field roars down towards turn number 7.
1-2,
and
it's a spin.
That's De Freitas. Chris De Freitas goes around. We'll see how that affects the rest of this race. Looks like he was able to pull away without too much of a delay. That's good news, and we stay green.
So up front, championship leader leads from the man who's chasing him in the points, Lucas Catania.
Let's see if we can see what happened to De Freitas. That was early in the corner.
Very early, lost the rear end.
Takes a while for the rear tires to generate heat in those front-wheel drive cars. And talking to a couple of front-wheel drive drivers here in the paddock, they have mentioned the fact that it does take a few laps to feel comfortable with the rear of those machines.
Yeah, just got to get used to those rear tires not having temperature. It's going to be a little bit tail happy. Use the front wheel drive to kind of pull it out of those slides. You can't give up on it.
Here comes Yoshihara, the pole sitter, trying to fight his way back to the front around Aaron Kaplan. That is who he's chasing here. I think Dye's going to be hoping for a green flag race because, as we saw on the initial start here, plus all the restarts yesterday, for whatever reason, he's really struggling to get that car going in a restart situation.
Bucknam's got to the front here. Devin Anderson in tow as they head down towards Canada Corner.
Good battle shaping up at the front of this field. Here they come, the two championship protagonists. Bucknam guarding the inside. Anderson trying to swing the long way around. Rolls a lot of speed through, but it's rough up over the curbs, and that leaves him vulnerable. Here comes PJ Gronke, who led briefly, now trying to fight his way back to the front.
Yeah, Anderson just trying to get back into the rhythm there. Ran out wide, was probably worried about a little bit of dirt on his tires, so pretty patient there. Smart move just to get it back under control. He was on the racing line down at the brake zone for Canada Corner. That allowed him to roll around the outside with a bit more pace than Bucknam, but Bucknam got his elbows out, didn't want to give it to him.
Gronke slips out of that slipstream, and look at the straight line speed of this TCA Spec Mini, able to pull alongside the Subaru down this 4,400-foot front straightaway. This is the battle for second in the TCA class as Bucknam accelerates away from the lead. Gronke to the inside, but Anderson so comfortable rolling the outside.
Yeah, I think he realized he's got a lot of confidence in his car to roll through that high-speed turn one and just takes it back away, but this is allowing Bucknam to escape a little bit.
Back to the very front. No surprise to see the top two, Colin Garrett and Lucas Catania. These two have been the class of the field most of the season, certainly in the BMW ranks.
Yeah, and we talked about coming in the championship season with Jacob Ruud moving on. Should have opened up the door for Colin Garrett to dominate. They're the only two drivers who won last year, but the competition has definitely got a little bit stiffer. Garrett won here yesterday. He has a 40-point championship lead, but only his third win of the season, so it hasn't come easy to him, but he's just continued to keep his head down, grind away, and just try and maximize his point score every single weekend.
I do want to give a call to Nick Roberts and a quiet but impressive opening lap to get up to the third spot. He's coming under pressure from Kenny Schmid at the moment. Meanwhile, we've got the front of the TC field catching the back of the TCX field. That's De Freitas, who had his issue a little bit earlier, and he appears to be holding up Clay Williams.
Well, he also got away with one because the car's still running. Doesn't seem like it's got any bent body panels, which is remarkable. Haven't seen that spin that he had up in turn 6.
This has tightened up the top three in TC. It's brought Rika right back to Christian Pericarpi's rear wing, and really nowhere for Clay Williams to go. That TCX spec car is going to have the ponies to have an advantage. Williams is going to need to get this move made in the corners and then hopefully have a big enough gap that De Freitas doesn't jet right back by on the straightaways.
I think he's elected just to let these guys go at it, have their own battle, drop back a little bit. Wise move. So up front, Williams doing what he needs to do, rebounding from yesterday's issues. Ricker's now getting back into a groove, however, so there's still pace in this Hyundai.
He's got a nice run on Pericarpi right now. Looks to the inside. It was a late move, late on the brakes, but the lunge pays off. Jeff Rika around Pericarpi and up to P2.
Realizes if he's going to get back in this championship picture, he can't afford to let Williams beat him here today. He's got to go get him.
Jeff knew he'd be on the back foot all season. He's not going to ever make the race at Circuit of the Americas because of his Hyundai commitments that had him at the 24 hours of the Nürburgring.
There was talk of them drafting in one of the Hyundai factory drivers, maybe Mark Wilkins, to try and take some points away from Williams. They elected not to do that, and that bit them, quite honestly, because Williams swept the weekend and continued to score points at VIR as well.
But Sally McNulty did a nice job for the team, both at COTA as well, especially as at VIR. And that's been crucial for Hyundai in the Manufacturers' Championship, which is a fierce battle between Mini and Hyundai at the moment.
Well, that's the first thing that Jeff talked about yesterday, having grabbed the victory, was the manufacturer points. So he recognizes how big that is to Hyundai.
Both of those teams, the Mini team as well as Gen Racer, are pretty tied at the hip with their respective manufacturers.
A little twitch by Garrett there. He likes to use that curb on turn in for the kink, and made him have to catch the car a little bit, looked like to me.
Like Yoshihara was starting to put some pressure on Joe Catania. The pole sitter has dropped down to 7th, fighting for the 6th spot at the moment. It's right at the back of the shot. That Honda right there on the back bumper of Catania's BMW.
Yeah, and he's got pace, but he just struggles to use it. Once he gets in amongst these BMWs, they kind of hold him up in some of the spots of the racetrack where he does have an advantage. So he's got to clear this traffic if he's going to go and chase these leaders. So yesterday, Hondas were just getting swamped. You would have thought that he would have controlled the speed, trying to get at a speed where he's in a good torque range with that engine. But once again, see him drop like a stone there and lose many positions.
And sadly, the Honda contingent took a pretty big hit when Matt Pombo was taken out in the race yesterday. Started on pole, and that car suffered significant damage. They were unable to get it repaired in time to race for race 2 today.
Williams looking strong up front. Ricker's car looks a little bit stronger down these long straightaways, but he wasn't close enough to even think about a move on our leader. Pericarpi hanging tough as well. And he recognizes he could do a great job as a wingman for Williams if he can somehow get back around Ricker before the end of this race and steal some of those points.
He knows that's his job. I talked with him earlier in the weekend, and Christian is here. If he can, he'll win races. He'll score the best result possible. But if he's in a position where he can help first the manufacturer, but second Clay, to win their respective titles, he knows that is his duty for the rest of the season. He's not really in a position to fight for a championship of his own.
Circle looks absolutely fantastic. What a job they do here. It's absolutely pristine. Great venue to return to, and up front in TCA, Bucknam still has it. He grabbed the championship lead last night on the basis of the results yesterday, but Devin Anderson right there in his draft as they head down towards turn 5.
Gotta love this. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Here comes Anderson working around the outside of Bucknam. Gronke sitting, lying in wait in the blue Mini. Anderson's made the outside line work for him a few times here already in this race. He's to the flank of Bucknam. He's still there coming up the hill. Now, though, taking a peek to the inside, but Spencer covers that off.
Yes, Spencer just seems to be that half step ahead of any move that may be made in terms of his placement of the race car. He's being pretty savvy right now.
Spencer Bucknam, of course, part of that famous racing family. It is a family affair for the Andersons, too. This is the family team, Tech Sport Racing.
Talked yesterday about how busy Devin is. He's the program manager across all of their various motorsport activities. He drives one of the trucks to the circuit, does it all, but when it's race time, he has to focus and just get his game face on.
Right now, the man he is fighting for the championship is right out the windshield. Less than half a car length separating the top 2 through the kink. This is the run through Kettle Bottoms down to Canada Corner, and Bucknam feeling the pressure, has to go defensive yet again. That forces Anderson to the outside. Right behind, Xiao Yiche makes a bid for the 3rd spot. Anderson so strong around the outside. That's a power move. He takes the Subaru to the lead.
Look at that Mini, though. The gear ratio launching off of Canada Corner seems to be a little bit stronger than the Subaru, so Shea looked like they were going to make a move there, but couldn't quite make it happen. Anderson to the front. This is important in the championship as well as this race. What a battle we're seeing here for the season.
Phenomenal stuff between the two young stars of the future, Bucknam and Anderson. PJ Gronke, he's the grizzled veteran of the bunch. That car's got some ponies. You can see him tuck it in the slipstream. Bucknam looking to attack Anderson, but that leaves him vulnerable around the outside to PJ Gronke. Is PJ going to try and thread the needle? Can he make it 2 for 1?
But Bucknam, he had a decision to make there. Does he pick up the draft of the lead, or does he protect the inside lane? Elected to protect the inside lane. Ultimately, that worked because Gronke couldn't quite make the move stick.
But PJ fights back now, crosses over to the inside, and the run down to turn 3. Likes to back out of it. He's very well aware that the two in front of them are racing for a championship, and PJ's about as clean of a racer as you'll find.
That Mini's acceleration mid-range is really strong.
Look at that, right around the outside of Bucknam for the second spot. Here comes Xiao Yi now. He smells blood in the water.
This is allowing Devon to kind of focus forward rather than worrying about the rearview mirror for the moment, at least.
Crossover from Che, the Chinese driver. He gets edged down to the inside by Bucknam. Under the bridge there, top of the hill.
Bucknam's in the danger zone here. He's got to be careful. I know he wants to protect, but he can't afford to get taken out.
Gotta love it. 3 different platforms with the Subaru, the Mini, and the Honda. Visibly different strengths and weaknesses, but they all run roughly the same lap time.
They do. There's a real ebb and flow as to where they develop their speed. Particularly under acceleration, it seems, is very prominent there with the TCA cars where they develop their power.
Back in TCX, and the fight is on here. This is 4th, 5th, and 6th, and Yoshihara running there in 7th as well.
Nick Roberts having a great run, holding down that 3rd position right now. 2 leaders are kind of down the road a ways in their own little fight. A lot warmer here today, so that could be a factor with these production-based race cars. Sometimes if the temperatures get extreme, they can get in a somewhat of a default mode, so you got to watch that and be aware if you're picking up the draft. Watch the temperature gauge, make sure they're not climbing too rapidly.
Great stuff there as Kaplan is trying to plot a course past Schmid. Schmid seems to be coming on strong here in the second half of the season. Feel like we're calling his name more and more. Roberts running a limited schedule this year. This is the best we've seen him run, and Kaplan making his debut this weekend.
Yeah, big podium here yesterday on debut. It was an excellent run for him.
Great looking car. Love that livery. Can't miss it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
PJ Gronke has raced his way to the lead in TCA. Somewhere just past the start-finish line, he got the move made around Anderson, and now PJ Gronke is setting off in search of his 2nd win of the season.
And Shay, that battle with Bucknam, that's kind of turned into a 2-pack race here instead of all 4 cars together.
This is how he got it done.
Up the front straightaway, that was easy.
The affable Canadian PJ Gronke has been in a strong run of form here over the last couple of rounds. He has the lead now over Anderson. Bucknam still with his hands full.
Oh, it's going to give Shea a run. No, can't quite get to his flank. Just needed to be another 3 or 4 feet alongside to hold that inside line into turn 6. Bucknam doing every trick in the book right now to hang on to that podium.
For Xiao Yi, he's in search of just his 4th podium of the season. Started the year with 2 in a row at Sonoma, but only has 1 since, and that was a runner-up in the first race at VIR. Finished 7th in the TC America points 1 year ago, did the Chinese driver. Back for another go-round with the Tech Sport team.
Well, the front 2 had just galloped away. Bucknam's not going to be liking what he sees. That championship lead is slender right now. Sits at just 2 points. That's going to go away as they sit. Look at the draft down this long straightaway. Both battles here. Here comes Devin Anderson back to the inside. He'll grab the lead into Canada. Bucknam on the inside, trying to resist the challenge from Shea on the outside.
He's able to do so. holds down that spot. This is where that Mini has been so strong. Once again, that climb out of Canada corner.
It's right in the sweet spot. You know, just the torque of these engines from the various engine manufacturers makes such a huge difference. We saw it at the start in TCX with the Honda against the BMWs, and we're seeing it here in TCA as well on the acceleration out of some of these corners.
Now let's put the tinfoil hat on. Canadian driver PJ Gronke, strong in Canada corner. Do I smell a conspiracy?
I can see where you're going with that one.
PJ loves coming here. He loves this racetrack. And a great run here a year ago, finishing runner-up in race 2. And I believe he finished that race right behind his teammate, Christian Pericarpi, who swept the weekend in TCA here 1 year ago.
Yoshihara and Joe Catania, good little battle, a little bit deeper in the pack. This is for 6th position is what we're looking at. Yoshihara's got to be wondering what is going on. Had the pole position, had the pace here yesterday, but in race conditions, I just struggle.
It's happened with alarming frequency, it must be said, this year. 5 poles, fast laps in plenty of races, but only 1 podium result. That was his win at NOLA. Other than that, the best finish has been 5th.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. It's hard to really get your head around why the car can't perform in race day conditions like it does on a clean lap.
Anderson back around Gronke. The lead changing hands yet again. We promised you this would be drafting a la a super speedway, and that's exactly what it's been here in TCA.
Bucknam getting a little bit closer to the leaders, maybe. Just certainly aren't stretching it. Got that little gap a couple of laps ago, and now it's pretty steady there.
Race Vision powered by AWS. Competitive overtakes. These are passes made on the racetrack. Christian Pericarpi and PJ Gronke leading the way with 3 apiece. Ruben Iglesias, Cooper Brohl, and Bruce Marine there also making the list. Bucknam again under pressure. Xiao Yiche can get alongside, but he just can't quite unlock this puzzle here.
Almost a tap there. It's pretty tight. Not sure if they traded paint or not, but great battle, great scraps. Oh, Gronke lost a lot of ground there on the entry at 14. Not sure if he had a little bobble or what happened there. Lost some ground mid-corner.
Look at here. Once again at Dai Yoshihara. Been a change because he was 7th the last time by, and now he's behind the 5th place car of Kaplan. So we'll have to get that sorted out. Dai looking to put some pressure on here. Heavy braking for Canada corner. W squirming around there in the braking
fast
zone.
lap is only a 10th off the leader, Ryan, so he's got pace there. It just seems he's just got to get through and get into a rhythm.
It's been a difficult task, quite frankly, to find the right balance between the BMW and the Honda this season. This is a stopgap measure for Honda, quite frankly. Really exciting news here recently that a brand new Acura Integra TCX spec race car is on its way for next year. Oh no, Gronke's off the pace.
I think something happened going through 14. He suddenly lost a big chunk of ground to our leader. And I think that's now becoming a bit more terminal.
Oh. Hate to see that.
Straight, yeah.
Yep. Oh, is the right front down? Maybe not, but thought he might go off. There is a way you can escape back into the paddock through the runoff in turn 5, but he elects to stay on the track. Let's look. Is that down? Hard to tell.
To tell in the shadows. I think it's something more drivetrain related or power electric related.
Back to the front of the field. Colin Garrett feeling the pressure now. Lucas Catania, he's been lying in wait. He's been keeping that powder dry. We've just crossed the halfway mark, and it is time to go.
Garrett's looks pretty stoic in similar situations this year, however, in terms of the lead, and just doesn't crack. Just keeps pounding, just keeps knocking out the laps. Catania's got to make something happen, though. If he's got anything up his sleeve, he's got to try and make it happen. This championship is just going to get away from him. That gap is going to get bigger and bigger in the points unless he can take away such a huge swing. It's a 14-point swing. You're going to gain 7 and take 7 away from the championship leader.
These two know each other well. Raced against each other last year, of course. And it seems like they've been locked together here in 2023 as well.
Catania has to give up a little bit of speed through the King. He doesn't like following super close. Not sure if his car is affected by that. It's just a confidence thing, but definitely cracks the throttle a little bit more than Garrett as they approach the King there.
Update from the mini pits. Evidently, it's a braking issue for PJ Gronke. Scary place to have that happen. And if that's true, that explains why he ran deep down into turn 5. Great job to get that car turned, and he'll limp it back to the pit lane. 18 minutes to go. Colin Garrett leading the way up the hill once more. Let's head pit side where we find DJ Clark.
Well, Ryan, as you just heard there from the mini camp, braking issues for PJ Gronke. They're trying to figure out if they can get it to keep going around here at this point, but definitely affecting the car here as they run.
PJ's dropped down to 5th in class. Not really in the championship conversation. At an outside shot. This will certainly hurt with only 4 races left after this one. 2 at Sebring, 2 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in October in conjunction with the Indy 8 Hours. Third, 4th, and 5th here in TCX, Calvin. We got Roberts, Schmid, and Catania. And the battle heating up here in TC as well.
Ricca is right there, putting the pressure on Williams. Similar scenarios we talked about Catania and Garrett and TCX. 14-point swing potentially right here if these two trade positions. They both know it too.
Just the 2nd year for this TC Spec Mini. This is the debut year for this particular Hyundai, the Hyundai Elantra NTC, to give it its proper nomenclature. And it has been a winner straight away. This car has been the dominant force in this class this year, and Jeff Ricca and his whole Gen Racer team deserve a ton of credit. And he told me earlier in the season, the genesis of this car actually goes back to some time he spent racing in Korea at the tail end of the year last year. He got invited over to race in a single mech Hyundai series there, met a lot of people, and learned a lot about the car they were using there. And this is effectively more or less the car they were using in that series, and it has been a real force.
Leaders encountering traffic here. Decision-making time.
This is going to be sketchy too. Gronke going around with braking issues as the leaders come through. They may not be aware of what he's dealing with.
All part of the game. You've got to read the situations. Do you go for it? Do you dive down the inside? Schmid looking for opportunity here, get a run on Roberts as they exit turn 14. Joe Catania sitting there waiting to see what develops.
Oh, this is going to be tight. It's too wide from the TCA cars as the top, or the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place cars in TCX come through.
Catania, big run, pulling a big draft from the 2 cars in front of him.
Schmid looking into the inside of Roberts. Joe Catania right there too. Awesome stuff. These guys have been glued together all race long.
Catania looks to the inside on Schmid, gives it up. Tough to make it happen there. You kind of roll off the brake and try and roll big speed through apex in turn 3.
Schmid is there. Kenny having a pretty good season. He's losing some ground down the straightaway though.
Catania looking. That forces Schmid in deep as well. Here comes Kaplan there. He wants to join the party.
Here comes Schmid.
Yeah, this trio's holding each other up a little bit. Schmid through for P3. That's the final podium spot.
That would be big for him. It would be a first career podium for Kenny, the AOA Racing team. Up around Roberts into third. Roberts' troubles aren't done yet. Catania and Kaplan have designs.
Yeah, watch for Kaplan. This little dice has allowed him to join the back of this pack here. He'd love to repeat on what he did yesterday, finishing in P3.
Their new team to the championship as well with Aaron Kaplan's Kaplan Racing Systems operation. AOA Racing for Kenny Schmid. Fast Track Racing for Roberts. And Rigid Speed for Joe Catania. So 4 different teams there. Oh, and Yoshihara's in the pits with problems. Told he lost power. And more disappointment for the Japanese driver. It has been a season full of promise unfulfilled.
Yeah, certainly has the pace. Just got to get the consistency, as we said, in terms of race day performance. So Schmid now up to P3. Trying to consolidate that, get into rhythm, hit his marks, let the others scrap it out behind him.
A little bit of out-of-class traffic to contend with coming up for these cars. Meanwhile, quite a ways in front. That's where you find these two. Colin Garrett starting to edge out the advantage. Almost equal lap times the last time, but on aggregate, Garrett's lead starting to grow slightly. It's up to 3/4 of a second.
So evenly matched, but for Colin Garrett, he's just not making any mistakes to give Lucas Catania an opportunity to push for the lead. He's just a little bit too far back to think about it, even though these brake zones are long and deep into turn 5 and particularly into Canada corner. He's too far back to think about it.
Think about Colin Garrett's background. Short track racing, former track champion at South Boston in Virginia, not too far away from VIR. He's run a lot of laps in close proximity to other cars. He's used to feeling the pressure and not making mistakes. He's uniquely prepared for these kinds of situations.
He is, and I think that really, you know, I think for any young driver doing a variety of disciplines really accelerates your learning curve, and he's up for any challenge, it seems. Very determined individual, it seems. Just his personality is like, I'm just going to make it happen. Doesn't seem too emotional.
Xiao Yiche
With the danger zone there when you try and get out of the way of traffic. That's where there's no grip.
You could tell he was trying to be courteous, put the blinker on to indicate which direction he wanted Garrett to go through, but as we've talked about with this repave, there is a ton of grip online. We're setting track records left and right this year here at Road America, but if you venture off that racing line, you do it at your own peril.
I relate it to like a drying racetrack. If you've had some rain and then there's a drying line, there's grip on line, but if you get outside it, you're suddenly back into the wet and you don't have the same level of grip.
Up the hill through Billy Mitchell Bend, approaching just 10 minutes to go. 11
Garrett
minutes
in trouble.
to be precise.
Fortunately for Catania, he's not close enough to be able to pounce, so Garrett had to really wait there on Bucknam.
That's part of multi-class racing. Something that is new for Colin Garrett since moving over to road racing 1 year ago. Able to blitz around Anderson there. Following him through is Catania, so the battle rages on, headed down into turn 1.
Anderson continues to lead TCA. It's Bucknam in P2. Shea has gone away a little bit. Obviously, Gronke's got his issues, so makes it a little bit simpler in terms of the championship picture. Bucknam came in with a 2-point advantage after the results from yesterday. That's the way the season's going to go, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
To the finale.
It's the way it's been since the very start. Every once in a while, one will have the edge on one weekend. It swings back the other way the next. It's been a ton of fun. And I expect you're right. It'll come down to the wire at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Checking in on the battle for the lead in TC, Clay Williams from the pole. He is doing everything in his power to nurse his championship lead. He gave away a ton of points yesterday when he had to retire the car, and Jeff Rica went on to win. He's been able to keep Jeff Rica at bay here today.
Yeah, he's looked rock solid. Took off at the start, had a wingman initially, And Ricker took care of Pericarpi, but at this point in time, he hasn't really displayed anything that's going to threaten Williams for the lead here, even though he's keeping it tight.
Christian still runs third, by the way, in the second of the minis. He's fallen back a little bit, though. But this is good from a mini perspective as far as the manufacturer championship is concerned. Saw TCA car go a little bit wide a few moments ago in the background because Pericarpi continues to run ahead of the second-placed Hyundai of McNulty. So it should be a good weekend for many if things hold here for the final 8 minutes, 45 seconds.
Yeah, the tires screaming there through the carousel. I think the grip is gradually picking up as the track evolves here over the course of the weekend, getting more and more of this pearly rubber down.
I did have a number of drivers say that they felt this track made strange noises. They thought it kind of squeaked at them, and maybe they're just hearing their tires more than they're used to, but I had several people mention that to me. I've never had that feedback before. What a great job the staff at Road America have done, constantly upgrading this facility. First repave since 1995, at least for the totality of the track. Oh, this is tight. Oof. That is the leader in TCA that they are working through.
Really tight. Roberts there, currently sitting in P4 in TCX, coming up on our TCA leader.
Yep. Anderson has pulled the gap, though, on Bucknam, so it didn't cost him too much. Oh, here we go.
Catania gets a run.
Yep.
Pops out. Can he get up to his side as they get down into the brake zone? See him there just touching the brake, making sure the pedal is there when he needs it. Takes it in super deep. Can he control the apex speed?
Roberts tries to cross him over. He got a decent run, but not close enough, I don't think, to get alongside in the run up the hill. Ooh, that's a late lunge.
It was. He tried to keep it there. Joseph just trying to open up his hands and get the radius through the corner, but you could see that Roberts was hanging tough.
You do not want to be stuck on the outside.
No. Get a little nudge there, you're off in the toolies.
Final 7 minutes of this race.
Run by Joe Catania. He's having a really solid race today. I love to see it.
Fight here deep in the pack in TCA, and these three have been mixing it up all race. Ruben Iglesias Jr. in the Honda at the front, Bruce Marine there in the yellow Mini, Cooper Brohl in the Skip Barber Honda. They've been swapping these spots, admittedly towards the back of the pack in TCA, but I imagine they're going to have some stories to tell at the end of the day.
Think your dad's enjoying this one?
I suspect maybe not yet. When it's over, he'll have a smile on his face.
He had a big smile last night. He's just loving being here.
Oh, going a little deep there was Brohl. That puts some pressure off of Bruce. Feels weird to call him that. He's got some pressure on Ruben here. Had very limited track time coming into this weekend, and they had some interrupted practice sessions, so he's been finding the pace. His fastest lap of the race yesterday, his fastest lap of the weekend, was in the final lap, so you could tell he was getting his head around this car and this new track surface right now. And
he feels with his experience, if he can just be consistent and let some of the others make mistakes and take advantage, is kind of his game plan.
That's the idea. Iglesias a little wide. This is where the Mini has been super strong. We saw it from PJ Gronke earlier in this race up towards the pointy end of the field.
This really seems to be in its sweet spot with the torque curve there coming off of Canada Corner.
Oh, both of those cars really twitchy in the brake zone for 14. Who gets the better run out of the final corner? It might be the Mini. The Mini goes to the inside, and look at that power. Down the front straightaway, here comes his teammate, Christian Pericarpi, in the TC spec car around the inside. Change for position there. That is for 5th in the TCA class.
Top 5. Great run by Bruce here.
Oh, Pericarpi's
off the pace. He's got a technical issue, I think.
Ugh. It's not good. He's in podium contention at the moment. Don't know how big of his gap. How big of a gap does he have to 4th in class? It's a bit of a ways, 10 seconds, 15 seconds to Neto. Oh, but this is serious. This could be terminal for Christian Pericarpi. You could see that car is crawling under the Srogento Bridge.
Well, we talk about the temperatures here today. That can have a big effect on how these cars operate. So I'm sure the team is seeing this, getting the feedback from the cockpit, and maybe worried about Clay Williams, his teammate, who continues to lead this race.
But this is bad news as well for the championship in the manufacturer's standings. We've been talking about it. I'm not sure that there's a fiercer manufacturer's battle than you find in the TC ranks, quite frankly. These teams, they live to represent these manufacturers. They bleed their manufacturer colors.
It's not for a podium spot, but it's a fierce battle for P4. Catania continues to hold on to it from Nick Roberts as they climb this front stretch one more time. Time is running out for Roberts here to get back by.
Just a couple laps to go here at Road America. Catania made the pass, but it hasn't been easy. Roberts has been able to hang with him. At the very front, though, here's Colin Garrett, leading now by 2 seconds over Lucas Catania. He has been inch perfect, seemingly, all race long. Catania was there putting pressure on, but Garrett never gave him an opportunity.
No, he just maximizing every single lap, continuing to grind at it. This is a racetrack where you can really get into the mindset of thinking about the previous lap and just executing each individual corner that little bit better. Finding that perfect corner, putting all together around all 14 turns and getting that lap time.
Is that because you do have long straightaways where you can reset mentally?
I think you can. You know, you're in these corners for a long time. Even the short corners, they seem to be long duration. So there's a lot of time just being super patient with your throttle application, keeping the tire underneath you, and that gives you lap time at the end of the day.
Through the carousel, so much low to the left-hand side of these race cars through there, and we really didn't see it play out because of the issues for Yoshihara, but I would have been curious, even with this less abrasive, less tire degrading surface, you know, a corner like that, especially on a front-wheel drive car, would put a lot of strain on that left front. The usage of the tire gets a little bit more balanced out with the rear-wheel drive car, and I wonder if this isn't one of those tracks where perhaps it would come to these rear-wheel drive BMWs, but again, it's all academic because Yoshihara, unfortunately, was called to pit lane with a mechanical problem.
Yeah, and I think, again, we've talked about it today and throughout the course of this weekend with this new racing surface. Tire degradation doesn't seem to be such a factor, but we are seeing a big battle here for the lead. Rickett has caught Williams and is putting the pressure on here late in the going, but time is running out. How badly does he want it? Will he send it here as our leader comes across? White flag.
1 lap to go at Road America. Colin Garrett leading overall by just under 2 seconds. This is the second-placed car now in TCA, running a few seconds behind the leader, Devin Anderson. But this is the battle we've got our eyes on. It is for the lead in the TC class. Clay Williams trying to cling to that championship lead that was eaten into yesterday by Jeff Rica. Rica in a position now in second place where he gives some of those points back to Clay Williams, and they've got 1 lap to settle this.
Well, it was a thriller yesterday. It was right down to the wire. What does Ricker have up his sleeve today? Can he cut and paste the run he made yesterday, not on Williams, but for the win?
Here they come, the leaders in TC working their way through the second place car in TCA. Williams is able to clear Spencer Bucknam. Looks like Rica will as well. They do still have the TCA leader to contend with here on this final lap. Clock hits all zeros. It'll be the checkered flag next time by. Clay Williams fighting for all he's worth to extend his championship lead with just 4 races to go.
Williams is digging deep. He wants this one. You can tell he's just really pushing hard. Doesn't want to give Ricker a sniff of the lead.
Christian Pericarpi, by the way, still hanging on to the 3rd spot in this class. Celso Neto starting to close in, though. It's only 8 seconds now between those two. Here we go, past the leader in TCA. Williams is not able to clear him. This is going to hold him up a little bit, but it's not going to be easy for Jeff Rica either.
Swings around the outside. That was dicey there. Had to almost get into the gray, but he makes it stick. He had to go, could not afford to wait on it.
Didn't look like Anderson liked that too much. He had his hand out the window, but these guys are fighting for their class win.
Yeah, you got to recognize that in terms of Anderson. Yes, I've got the lead. What are you doing to me? But they got their own fight for the lead within their class.
Williams thrashing that Mini for all it's worth through the carousel for the final time. Now to the kink. But at the front straightaway, Colin Garrett makes it a perfect weekend here in Road America. Colin Garrett and Rooster Hall Racing take the win in TCX, edging home Lucas Catania by just under 2 seconds. Kenny Schmid will cross the line in third to complete the TCX class podium. Now back to the TC battle.
Williams is not letting up. He had a brilliant run through the carousel, gapped the Hyundai a little bit. I don't think Rica is close enough. Williams is keeping the pace. He's keeping the gap.
Don't forget, Rico won a drag race to the line against the Mini of Pericarpi yesterday. Might we see a similar result? Looks like he's too far back. Clay Williams had the heartbreak in race 1, bounces back as he climbs the hill. The checkered flag waves for Clay Williams, who wins race 2 here in Elkhart Lake. Jeff Rica comes home with a first and a second to show from his weekend. Across the line behind, Devin Anderson picks up the victory in the TCA class, just ahead of Bucknam. Xiao Yiche looks like he's on for yet another podium, and he does secure his 4th top 3 of the season as the Mini squad celebrates. Now we wait to see, does Christian Pericarpi limp it home for the final podium spot in TC? Celso Neto was closing in on that final lap, and Pericarpi's Mini is wounded. He should be the next car to cross the line. We'll find out here shortly, and indeed, Pericarpi does hang on to finish 3rd.
Well, some anxious moments there for him, but he does get it across the line, so obviously wounded, but kept it going. Great job by Garrett, just kept his head down, didn't crack.
Yeah, great effort, great race. There was a drag race to the line, by the way, in TCA for the 5th spot.
So you're pumping your fist for a certain reason there, Ryan. What's going on?
Bruce Marine over Cooper Broll by 85 thousandths on the final lap.
Cool.
There he is. Way to go, Dad. Great racing all around, as we've come to expect in TC America, powered by Skip Barber.
Yeah, there's always a dice. It's not always necessarily for the lead. It could be for P6 or P7, but equal passion throughout this field.
Colin Garrett, Lucas Catania, Kenny Schmid. That's the podium in the TCX class. Catania did everything he could to keep Garrett honest, and tell you what, he's got to be tired of finishing 2nd. He's been staring at that Rooster Hall logo all season long.
He has, and for Nick Roberts, great run there to pip Joe Catania as well for P4.
And that was close as well between those two, less than a couple tenths of a second. Great race between those two for 4th and 5th. Clay Williams holding on to beat Jeff Rica. Huge bounce back there. And how about Clifton Lipple? Good effort for him, just outside the top 5 in TCX, and right there mixing it up at the front of the TC field in his debut race. Christian Pericarpi able to limp home with the 10th overall result and crucially the final step of the podium.
Yeah, and down in TCA, Devin Anderson, another win on the season and grabs the Champions League back. To and fro between he and Bucknam all season long. Yeah,
Xiao Yiche back on the podium, 4th time this season, with another 3rd place result, just one shy of a career best. He was runner-up earlier in the year. Here's a look at the highlights. This is how it played out. Dai Yoshihara from the pole just could not get away. Similar story that we saw yesterday for that Honda for whatever reason. That gave Garrett a lead that he would never relinquish. Yeah, the Honda just swamped once again on that start by the BMWs. What a battle we saw in TC all day long. This is Rica making a move on the first of the minis, but he couldn't quite catch our championship leader. Fights all throughout the TCA field here throughout the day. Anderson and Bucknam side by side for 1st and 2nd. Shea and Gronke side by side for 3rd and 4th. Gronke would race his way to the lead in TCA before a mechanical malady ended his day.
Yeah, great performance. Try to follow up on that victory at VIR was not to be.
At the end of it, the checkered flag waved first for Colin Garrett, who continues his stranglehold at the TCX Championship in TC. A bounce-back win for Clay Williams ahead of Jeff Rica. And in TCA, the victory to Devin Anderson. Here's the drag race for 5th in TCA, right at the line by less than 1/10 of a second. The Mini over the Honda. Tremendous finish to a tremendous race. Let's hear from our winner now with DJ.
Colin Garrett down here with me on the grid. You had a lot of pressure from Catania from behind, but once again, able to make it work.
Yeah, these guys from Rooster Hall worked all night getting this thing prepared. We obviously had a pretty good car yesterday, but we didn't really have to work for that. So today I felt like we had to work for it. He was putting pretty good pressure on me there for a majority of the race. So kept it honest, and yeah, so good weekend. Definitely better than last year. Like I said, it's been a race circle on my calendar all year. So now see if we can make the GT4 race a little bit better. Yesterday it didn't go quite well, so we're going to try it again. But yeah, thank you.
Well, he's got to run off. He's got to get into a GT4 car right away, Ryan. But that's your winner, Colin Garrett.
Not much time to soak this one in, is there, for Colin Garrett, but he'll be right back to work, looking to have a better day in Pirelli GT4 America. There are the two Mini teammates exchanging post-race comments. Clay Williams on the right, Christian Pericarpi on the left. Double podium for the Mini team. Let's hear from Clay now with DJ.
Clay Williams, another victory here, able to take another one on this season, but that one you had to work for a little bit.
Yeah, Rico was all over me the entire race, and then with the traffic made it even tighter. So I, can't give it up to LAP and Mini USA for giving me such a great car. Catalyzer for coming on board again. I'm super thankful, and to everyone back at home. It was a great race for what happened yesterday. So glad to redeem ourselves.
Oh, you stole the words right out of my mouth. A redemption drive for you. What does this mean for the rest of the season?
It was pretty crucial. It's going to be tight till the end there. We know we got to stay, up front and do everything right. So,
all right, Clay Williams, your victor here in the TC class.
Big race for him. And in the background of that interview, we saw TC America class manager Jim Jordan walk by. Jim lost his mom here recently. Want to say our condolences to the whole Jordan family and to Jim in particular here working with a broken heart this weekend. So look at Devin Anderson. He is celebrating after a hard-fought victory here today. And let's hear now from our TCA class winner.
Devin Anderson putting his hat on here at this point. Looked like it was a little bit of a pressure cooker both in the cockpit and on the racetrack.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to have that one at the beginning, but things fell into place. The passes came in line, and we seized the opportunity. Stayed in front. Thank you to TechSport Racing, Redline Oil, K1 Race Gear for all the support.
Well, a great run here for Devin. We'll let you hydrate up. I know you're pretty wiped there, but a great win for TechSport.
Devin's not done with work today. He manages the whole TechSport operation, and they've got a race coming up here shortly in Pirelli GT4 America. That's it for TC America here from Road America. We'll see you down the road. Next up, Sebring International Raceway in Florida.